Well, hello there, everyone, and it is I, Baby Crone, and I am here today to actually do a movie video / science review. Now, this is unbeknownst to me, but I came across Birdbox, Barcelona. Oh man, this movie spoke my alley so much because if you haven't seen the first Bird Box, what the premise is basically you put on a blindfold or anything that makes you not be able to see, because if you see whatever you see, it's going to make you go crazy and basically off yourself. So the best way to live through life is to be able not to see anything. Actually, this would be really awkward to film a video like this. So that's what Bird Box is really about. And in this one, apparently, Bird Box Barcelona is not a part 2 to the first Bird Box. It's a complete separate entity of itself, except it just happens to exist in the same universe. Now, this came out on July 14th. I saw this on July 15th, and here it is July 16th, and I'm making a video for you guys. Now, this was just meant for Baby Crone to find. Because when one of the guys was talking about what the creatures is, he was just like, it's like the observer's effect. I'm like, the observer's effect? And then he was just like, yeah, it's like these quantum beings. They're like all the same thing all at once. I was just like, as soon as he said quantum, I'm like, oh my God, I'm taking quantum in the fall. So I will be back with you guys. I want to tell you guys a little bit about quantum physics. Now, he said that he and like other people were poo-pooing him. And he was just like, I have a degree in physics from whatever college he graduated from. And like, I didn't catch that until the second part that he said that he had a degree in physics. I pretty much just like geeked out when he said the observer's effect and they're like quantum mechanics. That's all you had to say for baby's ears to go, what? What about quantum? What about physics? Huh? What about the metaphysical world? That's Baby Crone's ears were perking up. So Baby Crone literally did her research within like, I'm gonna say within like 2 hours. And I even reviewed the first Bird Box because, let's be honest, even though it's not part 2, they coexist in the same universe. And I love theorists. So like I'm piecing the puzzles together over here at the Crone Treasure Chest to see what the second Bird Box is saying about the first Bird Box. Because now something's different. Because at first they were creatures. Now they're quantum beings? Like, are you kidding me? Like, now you're saying it's physics. It's not a spirit. No, it's physics. Okay. Baby Crone's jumping ahead of herself. So here are some things that I would like to highlight. Oh my God. Oh, okay. So some of the things that I would like to highlight is that first off, this will be a 100% spoiler. I'm going to be going from like beginning to end, not in like that order, but like I'm literally going to be covering the entire story or the premise of the story. If you want like the details along the way, just be there for the story, sure, you can go ahead and watch it. But if you don't want to be spoiled, because I am giving you a perspective on how to see this movie differently than what is being presented to us as a physicist, well, biophysicist, and also really into the esoteric world. So if you do not want to be spoiled and know anything about this movie, because I know it's 3 days, give people time to see it. So I understand. I am really sorry. The Baby Crone hopped on this real early. So if you do not want any spoilers, please go watch the movie. I will say that in the movie, if you can handle a lot of death, like it was feeling like senseless death, okay, at first, that I almost didn't want to watch it. So like I had kind of tuned out and was like doing my own little thing, but still listening to it because it was Bird Box, okay? I loved the Bird Box when it came out. And so, but once he said quantum physics, Baby Crone was like, I'm listening, I'm paying attention, movie, you got me. So, going on to our spoilers, our main character, Sebastian, he can see these creatures. He does not need to be blindfolded. And he's not blind. Because that's where they left us off in the first Bird Box, is that only the blind can see. Except that one character named Gary, who I had completely forgot about, but he was like mentally insane. But you know what? That's going on to something later that we're going to be highlighting. So he's resistance. So he is resistant to this quantum being's ability, which I'm going to get into in the next point that I would like to highlight. The fact that they talked about these are quantum beings. Now you're probably like, baby Crone, you keep saying quantum. What is quantum physics or quantum mechanics? Literally, it is so small. Okay, quantum is basically atomic level, but like subatomic level, like what makes up the atoms. Like if you went to elementary school and middle school and learned about chemistry and biology, you know that there's a proton and the neutron at the center of an atom, and then there's electrons around those centers, and that basically makes up your element. Well, there's even smaller particles called quarks that make up protons and neutrons that make up the atom, okay? This is literally crazy. Like if you thought an atom was super small, quarks are like even smaller. How do we know these exist in physics? But this is also what CERN is studying about, and also this is how they determine the God particle, which I've covered a video on, which determines what kind of particle is going to exist or not. So therefore, there's a particle out there that says that something will exist or ceased to exist. Yes, it can literally stop something from coming out of existence. The God particle is quite literally that. It's a God, in my opinion. So about this quantum being, right? So these okay. So I'm here with an experiment today because I want to show you guys what they call the Schrodinger's cat experiment. What it is, to quickly explain, there's a cat in a box and there's a lid that covers the box so you can't see the cat. And the way it goes is the cat is either dead or alive. Actually, no, it's both dead and alive inside the box with the lid closed. But once you open the lid, the cat is now either dead or alive. It's not dead and alive. Now, if that sounds crazy, like how can he be both dead and alive? This is quantum physics. It doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. It actually, if it makes sense, you're doing something wrong. And no, I'm not literally joking. Physicists have told me that before. My mentors have said quantum physics isn't supposed to make sense because it defies making sense. Yet by defying making sense, it makes existence make sense. Make that make sense. So with that being said, here's me showing you guys an example of the Schrodinger's cat. So in here I have a quarter, and we know a quarter has two sides, a head or a tail. So in here it's both heads and tails. Now when I open up the envelope, I'm going to face it towards you guys. It's both heads and tails as it's facing you, and it's both heads and tails while facing me. But let's see which side is facing who. Oh, okay. Well, the heads is facing you and the tails is facing me. That's quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics says when it's not being observed, it is everything, all at once. Yes, the movie. The Asian movie that had everybody like, really? This is getting all these awards? I didn't get it. Like now I finally am able to formulate. I'm like, it's that simple. Everything, everywhere, all at once was literally telling us about quantum mechanics. That literally all possibilities, like I'm both a celebrity, I'm also a doctor, a YouTuber, probably a construction worker, a veterinarian, all at this exact very moment. However, the conscious reality I choose to observe is me as a YouTuber, as a student. I did not choose to observe the life path of me being a veterinarian, or else right now I'll probably be working on an animal at this exact very moment. Like I would have a dog on my table right now instead of having a book, and instead of a camera in front of me will be a person, and I am talking to them about their dog rather than me talking to you about quantum mechanics. Now, there is something called the observer's effect, which is kind of like a paradox. Well, it leads into a paradox called the collapse theory, meaning that when something's too big, the observer effect doesn't work. Now, in here, I told you it was a quarter, but like, how do you know that it was a quarter until I took it out? However, with the observer's effect, you could easily, ooh, you could have easily said that I chose to make it face heads towards you and tails towards me. So I brought in another example where I'm literally going to be taking out this quarter. Wow, look at that. It was tails facing you this time and heads facing me. That's kind of weird. But as you will see, no trickery. I'm flipping a quarter in here. And we're going to see which side is going to face who. I have no idea. The Schrodinger's cat's experiment. It's all at once until we observe. Okay, that's actually really creepy. It's heads facing you again and tails facing me. Now, I literally cannot make that up. That was like literally tarot working in real life. That shows you proof right there in physics how tarot cards can work. Two different quarters is like two different decks. Yet both of them showed you heads when I went to go show it to you guys. So you make that one make sense. And this was just a random experiment. And that was just like the probability. And that's what the wave collapse theory is all about. The fact that the wave, okay, so let's say the quarter, for example, it has all possibilities at once. It's okay, they call it a superposition. And a superposition is like you're in your position, but like you're like stuck in your position, but you're like rotating in your position. That's pretty much what you're doing, just rotating in your position. That's all you can do. You can't move. You're stuck to your position. So you're basically doing everything you would do if you're able to like run around, fly around, do all that. Nope, you confine. So you're just basically in a superposition, just doing stuff. So basically in this superposition, you're able to tell and predict the ability of the wave, for example, this quarter, by determining the factors, quantum mechanics. Even Schrodinger made an equation called the wave equation. So basically, up is going to be heads and and down is going to be tails. Okay, so the wave is going up and down. And it's both heads and tails all throughout life. And then suddenly when you observe it, you observed it when it was at its head state. You can make a prediction out of that based on an equation in math. But to bring it all together, this is what the quantum beings that they're basically talking about on Birdbox, basically Birdbox. Who cares if it's Barcelona or Birdbox? It's all the same universe. It literally said that. So these quantum beings, now you're wondering why is that very important? Because remember, they can't look at it. So if they can't look at it, it's the observer's effect. It's everything all at once. That's why they're hearing voices of their loved ones. Voices of people that they love, maybe like a past dead one, like a mother, a father, a brother, and a sister, and they just like literally hear and they like feel like their brother and sisters, like their loved one is there, and they're just like, oh my God, I just want to see them. And then once they look, it's not their brother or their sister or their loved one. It's some quantum being that now that you've observed it, it's having an effect on you and making you go crazy. I hope that makes sense. This is literally what they're talking about, okay? I am shook that this is what they're telling us. And when you think about, not to scare you guys, but when you think about scientific movies, they always say that the government has to tell us before it happens. And Lady Crone and I both we like to think that if they can make a movie, then it can happen. Because movies are overly dramatic. And because we believe it's overly dramatic, we're just like, oh yes, that's not real. Like The Matrix, right? We're just like, whoa, that's so mind-blowing. That's crazy. Imagine if life was a simulation. Life is a simulation. And something very interesting, going back to the movie, Here's the reason why people are immune to this quantum being. Either they have a mutation in their DNA that affects them in a way that they are not susceptible to the energy to basically off themselves. But also they can be blind. If you're blind, like you're literally like born blind or like blind throughout life before it happened, you're immune. You can walk around. That makes sense because your eye receptors, the information that picks up light it's not working in your eyes naturally. So if you have these quantum beings, you're still not going to see them because the information that collects light is just broken in your eyes. That's why you're blind. So you're just not going to see it. So that makes sense. But they're talking. Guys, this is a new discovery. I'm not sure if this is a new discovery, but in genetics, when I took it in the spring, my professor said there's early studies of people trying to figure out how stress is correlated to the DNA because it is genetically proven that stress will reduce your lifespan because it shortens your DNA. It does something to your DNA. So if you're like stressed, or like our main character Sebastian, just grief strucken, or like anything that just like mentally breaks you, like psychosis or something like that, you're not going to be susceptible to these quantum beings because for some reason it's something about us normal people that we're getting attacked. Now, this is very interesting. This is what my note says right here. So, our main character, the death of his daughter, Anna, he witnessed her walk off the edge of a building and commit and off herself, basically. And there's this alliance in the movie that's like putting the third eye on people's foreheads right here, right before they force their eyes to be open to off them. Yes, literally. This is like a cult antichrist antagonist. I'm not sure what to label them. They got a huge question mark for me, but I just know they are like trying to make people see because they have seen it, but their DNA is different. That's why they were able to see and walk around and force other people to see. But unlike the altered DNA people that are making them see us, we're just gonna go off ourselves. No, but not our main character, Sebastian. When he saw his daughter off himself, he was so grief-stricken. Now, this is over dramatic, your DNA. I don't think it's just gonna switch like that. Because literally, he like 5 seconds later saw the light. And he like saw his fist clamping up in anger. And then slowly it released. Like, he was just like, ah. Because you see it in their faces. You see when they changed and been taken over. He was taken over by this entity. However, he was so grief-struck that the entity gave him what he wanted, which was his daughter back. And his daughter was telling him, hey, off these people and we'll be together again. And then when he started denying it and started fighting against it and not offing people, the entity was just like, hey, why are you ignoring me? Don't disobey me. I'm your daughter and stuff like that. Like literally messing with his mind. So this is like spiritual and mental warfare that they're telling us about. I don't know. But I don't want to say, is this like coming? Like, I have no idea. It always makes me nervous about what the government's doing and what's to come. Especially because you're making a second movie on the Birdbox. But anyway, so yes, because of this, he's not susceptible, basically immune. It's like getting a vaccine. He's like vaccinated to these quantum beings. But really, he's still affected because they're mind controlling him basically by him hallucinating his daughter. Because that's what happens. People hallucinate and then go off themselves. They think like maybe there's like a fire in front of them and they just see their loved one and they're just like, oh, I just want to hug my loved one. I just want to be with you, and then get consumed in fire. So this is like the psychological stuff that they're doing. Like yours. But there is something very important that I want to highlight, that is a comparison between the two movies. Because now I'm starting to wonder, okay, this isn't a part two, but it's in the same universe. But because it's in the same universe, there has to be something important. So something that I noticed is that in the first movie, The Bird Box, there was a mom, Sandra Bullock, who was taking care of two kids. One was hers and one was another one. And what I love about this is that these two movies talk about trinities, like the struggles of a three, but also how three can really bring strength and transformation. Which also I'm going to be talking about the Bermuda Triangle too, because a triangle just happens to be a three, and that's very important. And threes are also like a portal, maybe. In Birdbox Barcelona, we have Sebastian and this other woman whose name I forgot, but she's trying to protect this little German girl named, oh, okay, yes. So there was Sebastian, and then there was Claire, the other older adult, and then there was I forgot the girl's name. Then there was the little German girl. And they were three for towards the end of the story. I mean, it was never three throughout the entire movie for both of them. But when we got towards the end, where the real transformation started happening with our characters, it just happened to be when there was just three characters. Another thing that was very interesting is that in Bird Box, it was during the epidemic when it happened. So this was like, what was it like going through the Bird Box apocalypse? That's what I call it. And Bird Box Barcelona is 1 year after the Bird Box apocalypse. So it's showing you how people now have adjusted to living their life blind and not being able to see and staying inside, and how they're able to hunt and really not trust people, because if you trust somebody, you're blind. You can't see if it's a spirit or somebody talking to you, or if it's really somebody. And if it really is somebody, are they a part of this third eye alliance that's trying to trick you into offing yourself? Or is it really truly somebody that needs help? It's like a who do I trust it kind of situation. But also at the same time, both in part one, both in Bird Box and Bird Box Barcelona, the kids were survived. They lived. And it was both a female maternal figure that happened to save these kids. And there just also happened to be a male. So instead of having the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, we have mother, daughter, and child. Or male, female, and then offspring, if you want to look at that, because they weren't a married couple and it wasn't their child, but it just happened to be a child and a male and a female. So I find that very interesting in the dynamics. Also, something that I found very interesting is that in the first Bird Box, they said that they were spirit creatures, and that these creatures take on your worst fears, your sadness, and your losses. And that's why it drives you to off yourself, because you just feel these emotions, and you know, like when your loved one dies, you can just finally feel like you can go off with your loved one, because there are seeing people that are literally dead. And so that's all I got for that one. But what I found very interesting for the first Bird Box, which now I realize they didn't use for the second Bird Box, but I'll talk about the second Bird Box after this one. So in Bird Box, the first one with Sandra Bullock, there were parakeets. And these parakeets were used as alarms to tell when these quantum beings were around you. Now, I looked into parakeets because I know birds are special and that they can see things that we cannot see. These parakeets aren't migratory birds. So that means they can't see magnetic fields. So that tells us that these quantum beings are not a part of the magnetic field. And if they were, that kind of wouldn't make sense, because in the first movie, they were able to use GPSs, and GPS banks off of the fact that there's a magnetic field and able to spot your geolocation. based off of your signal and technology and Wi-Fi in a sense. So they're not magnetic. That's interesting. So we can cross that off the list. It's quantum. We'll never know what they are. That's why we can't see them. And when we see them, we see what they want us to see because they're manipulating our energy. But these parakeets, they are special for a reason. So parakeets are able to see other colors that humans are unable to see, like ultraviolet light. Now, I will tell you what AI told me that was so important about ultraviolet light. Because I had to go ask AI because it was starting to get to the point where Google wasn't helping me. So what's important about ultraviolet lighting is that it helps. Hold up, sorry. Okay, so the ultraviolet lights help them see this. First off, this is just a fun tidbit fact that I just want to throw in there. It helps them to see when fruits are ripe, when they're ready to eat, but also to tell what kind of flower and plants to like get the nectar from and pollinate. Very interesting. But this is where it gets good. So it says that the parakeets can see higher frequencies. No, not see, hear higher frequencies that humans can't hear. Now you're probably like, well, what does that mean? If we can't hear it, how do we know it exists? It's like a dog whistle. You blow a dog whistle, you don't hear anything, but a dog is going crazy because they hear it, and that is like them being like, oh, I don't want to hear this. This is so loud because it's high pitched to them and annoying, and you can't hear it. These are what the quantum beings are like, okay? They're like a dog whistle. They exist. We just can't see them. And that's what this movie franchise is trying to tell us about quantum physics. And that's what Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was trying to tell us. There is multiple things going on, but us humans are so limited that we're only able to really see 7 colors, and that's the rainbow. There's more than 7 colors. There is more than just colors in general. There are birds, things that can see in like wavelengths or not even in light field, okay? This is like mind-blowing. Yet us humans were only limited to sight, sound, tasting, and touching. Sight, sound, touching, tasting. And I'm forgetting a 5th sense. we got sight, we got sound, we got touching, we got tasting, and smelling. And smelling. That's a scent that we have as well. But those are just 5 senses, and there's way more senses out there that other animals get to sense that we can't sense. So therefore, these parakeets are able to sense these quantum beings because they're from a higher dimension, or as they said, a higher frequency that we are unable to hear or see them, but the birds can, and they are not affected, but dogs are. Now, this is what's very fascinating. I mean, birds are affected too, but before they get affected, they like scorpion cheek and twerk. So like, like there's danger coming. So this is what I find very interesting about these parakeets. And it also makes me nervous when I think about it, because I'm just like, that is very true. Because I watched this TikToker / YouTuber called TBs, and she talks about how, if you think about it, different dimensions. She talks about how the second dimension, how their dimension works, but us as 3-dimensional beings, we can see their 2-dimensional world, and they're able to manipulate it, and like something that's suddenly there for them is now gone. And now suddenly it's materialized back into thin air, and they're just like, that's what it's like for us when not even 4th dimension, but 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th dimension, whatever dimension, higher dimension than the 3rd dimension. That's what happens when things just like mysteriously go wrong, or we like hear something, or like we swear we put something somewhere, and then we talk to the energy around us, and then it mysteriously makes its way back to us in a couple days. Like when things mysteriously move, but you're not touching it, The house is not tilted. There's no earthquake or emotion or vibration going on. Yet something is moving. Higher dimensional beings, basically, I'm saying effing with us for fun. Because we don't understand, but they understand we don't understand. And maybe they're trying to communicate a message to us. But because we're lower dimensional beings, we just can't wrap our head around the message. But also at the same time, just like us, we have good and evil energy. There's good and evil higher dimensional energy. So sometimes, yes, the energy is going to come through just to F with you and tell you, yeah, go off yourself now. So you got to be strong and be able to mentally defend yourself. This is literally, I literally came on here to tell you guys to spiritually watch yourself because of this Bird Box movie. But I was just so fascinated to talk about the quantum physics. And I'm starting to a little bit get nervous because of this movie. Because I believe in aliens. And I'm like, this is another form of an alien. An alien we can't see. How do we fight something we can't see, guys? So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you go see Birdbox Barcelona on Netflix. And if you don't want to, that's okay. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope I didn't spoil it too much for you. And if you haven't seen the first Bird Box, what are you doing? It came out in 2018. Get on that. Actually, that was 2 years before the pandemic. And now here we are 3 years after the pandemic. We have another Bird Box. But okay, with that being said, I will talk to you guys later. Sunflowers!